A lot of people had tagged me in a clip from a certain podcast, which was probably one of the most vile clips that I had ever seen in my entire life. And it immediately made me think about the case of Vicky Momberg, whom I'm pretty sure everyone that watches this video know who I am talking about. It's the woman that got 2 years in jail in South Africa for using a certain racial slur. Now, we can talk a bit later in the video about exactly what that case was and what the law was in that case. But there was this video, and it was made by this individual here, Nota Nhlamulo Baloyi, in which he described white people, especially white South Africans, I would guess, as a inferior species to black people, and then he had his whole argument there as to why this is. So we'll watch this video that he made in a few seconds now, but let's get to it. After, I'm just going to tell you to, if you want more information like this, join our WhatsApp group on by sending your name and surname to the number on the screen. Alright, so let's switch to the video and see what this individual had said.
Unfortunately, savagery is not in our culture. So the problem that South Africans have right
Savagery is not in our culture. He means black culture now.
now is that we don't understand white people. White people are inferior species to us. We are Homo sapiens. They've got Neanderthal blood in them. This is the science, and this is not science that was done by black people, it was done by them. You understand? Abu Clive W. Lewis, they were eugenicists. They studied this, and they realized that they're inferior to blacks.
Margaret Sanger from the...
Well, it will be very, very interesting to see what happens when we start taking a look at eugenics again. So is this now something that's acceptable again in South Africa? Because when we make eugenics open science again and we allow these studies at our universities again in South Africa, then I've got news for this guy. But let's listen to what he had to say further.
US. Well, I mean, she was more about controlling the birth of blacks. Yeah, but the reason why they did that... Eugenics, right? Yes. Yeah. So the waist-to-hip ratio determines how well a woman is able to give birth. And, you know, we've got the highest waist-to-hip ratio in the world. You know what I mean? Women have got small waists and really big hips or big bums or whatever the case may be. White women cannot carry births the same way black women can. They're inferior in that way. Why is it inferior? Because, you know, God said Zalananand, right? So if you're not making babies, your nation is going to get smaller. The white population is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. I had this conversation with Penwell the first or second time I went to the Convo show, which has now got over 200,000 subscribers. Congrats to him.
Congratulations to Penwell, proud of you.
Yeah.
And congrats to Caesar as well. They've also just cracked 200K.
Oh, yes. 200K or more than that?
Caesar, yeah. He's just cracked 200K.
Not 500K. Or maybe it's...
I don't know.
Yeah, but maybe it's because, you know, he's got a VIP guest in... anyone who gets invited by Susan Bofu is definitely running there. He's killing the game in terms of getting the guests that people really need and want. So when you look at the white population shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, for us it makes no sense to descend into the savagery that they have. Whatever land that they're holding on to, either way their numbers are dwindling. Whatever leadership that they had is dying out as well. And you know about wealth disappearing after the third generation that is passed down to. You know, so they're on the last generation. We're dealing with the weakest whites that the world has ever seen. You know, and again, I want to explain this so that people don't think that, you know,
I'm not 100% sure. Oh, I see. I never switched on the desktop audio. Oh, can you believe that? Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I have to start this part over again. Let's get to it again.
We don't understand white people. White
Now it
people
starts
are
over.
inferior species to us. We are Homo sapiens. They've got Neanderthal blood.
Although
in them.
the
This is-
sound probably picked up from my microphone, so now I can start actually streaming the sound from my computer as well. You guys probably heard it.
a human being is. white people are just below human beings. We are at
This
the
part is
echelon
very,
of that.
very important. Let's listen
Whites
to
are
that
a
part
step
again.
below because they've also got Neanderthal DNA. You know what I mean? Which is a previous ancestor of ours. So we expect to have Ubuntu, humanity. Unfortunately, by the strictest definition of what a human being is, white people are just below human beings. You are negotiating with an animal, a wild dog that you're trying to train.
I'm pretty sure all of you heard that part. It's about, he said that white people are below black people, and we are dealing with the worst or the weakest generation of white people the world has ever seen. I'm pretty sure he's talking about white South Africans here. And also what he said is he compares white people to animals and said that white people are as low as an animal when compared to this extremely superior black people that he's describing in this podcast. But in any case, let's listen further a little bit.
Ubuntu from them. We're like, you stole our land, you butchered our people and everything else, and we just want justice. We're not out for your blood. We're not chopping off your heads. We're not doing anything. Why don't you guys understand that? Why don't you guys have Ubuntu? Why don't you guys have a heart? They don't, because they're incapable of that. You cannot expect the same behavior of a human being that you're expecting of a dog. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if a dog chews up your couch, you're not going to beat your dog because he chewed up your couch. You know what I mean? You're going to be like, damn, why didn't I lock the dog somewhere where it can't chew up the couch? So, us as black people, we need to now start being smarter. We need to start understanding what we're dealing with. Because we're not dealing with a who. We're dealing with a what. You understand? And when we deal with this what,
It's interesting that he says that you're not dealing with a who, you're dealing with a what, because what he's basically implying there, it's the dehumanization of white South Africans in general. What he's saying is that white people are literally just not human in his view. And as he said a few minutes earlier, it's like dealing with a dog. That's how you must deal with white people. And remember, this was all on this, what was this podcast called? Nota Mondays, the Hustlers Corner SA. A podcast with 300,000 subscribers on there. So it's not even like in the case of Vicky Momberg, where she was on a phone conversation with a policeman where she called him this racial slur, and because of the fact that obviously that phone recording was recorded by the police, because all of the recordings are recorded, what happened, just to give background on that story, is I don't remember if she was attacked or if she was just robbed or mugged or whatever, and she tried to call the police, and she was annoyed with the fact that, in her opinion, the police didn't respond as quickly or as efficiently as they should have. And then she basically called this policeman or this person on the other end of the line a racial slur. So it was, one can argue it was like a one-on-one conversation. Whereas this is on a podcast with 300,000 subscribers. Obviously, this video hadn't had that many views yet. What's that, 20,000 views, as it was just published yesterday. But you get what I'm saying. This is like a proper public call for dehumanization of white people. On the other hand, one can argue that Vicky Momberg's case was dehumanization of black people, but it was in a one-on-one conversation. And what she did was use a racial slur. What this person said is that white people literally are not humans and they are animals. He said all of those things.
Of savages, because that's their history. Everywhere in the world, white people have gone and progressed. They've progressed because of savagery. They've killed people. They've decimated populations everywhere around the entire globe. There's not a place where the sun shines that white people have not decimated the people. In the world, you go to Australia, they decimated the natives. You go to America, they removed the natives completely to a small minority. Even there's more African Americans than Native Americans. That's the whole entire point. So I
think you guys are getting the gist of what he's saying here. If you want to go watch the entire argument that he's making, I mean, this podcast is about almost 1.5 hours long. You can obviously go watch it. I'll put a link in the description to this podcast. But the point I'm going to make here is, will the Human Rights Commission do anything about this situation? Will the Human Rights Commission do anything about this guy? I did some research about him. If you just take his name like this and you search on your Google, you'll see that he had been arrested and sentenced to 60 days in prison and stuff like that. Let me just show you here. So this guy obviously has a history. This was the it looks like he just came out of jail, because this was 60 days ago. This was November 2024. He was sentenced to prison. So it seems like he just got out of prison. But in any case, so will the Human Rights Commission do anything about this guy? And sadly, I think the answer to that question is an obvious no, because that's just not how it works in South Africa. So you might ask yourself the following question: why are white people persecuted or prosecuted when they call somebody else an ugly word, a racial slur, which is essentially just an ugly word, while this person can say things like this? Malema can say, for example, everything that he said about slaughtering people and so on and so forth, and Andile Mzitama can say even worse things like that, calling for genocide and calling for murder and so on and so forth. And then this guy, he's saying stuff that are in at the very definition of the word dehumanization. Because when they found Vicky Momberg guilty, that was the exact words used by the judge in that case. The reason why the punishment for her crime of saying this racial slur was so high was because she dehumanized a person, the person on the other end of the phone. So what this guy had said is per definition dehumanization. So one might ask oneself, why are the double standards there? Why are people not prosecuted in the same sense or in the same way? And the obvious answer is that it's all about dominance. That's something we need to realize. It's for black people, or for the ANC specifically in South Africa, everything is about showing dominance, showing we are in charge. You are basically nothing compared to us. It's like a bully on a school playground, where he can hurt other kids and he can tease other kids and he can call other kids ugly names or say insulting things to them, and everything is okay. But if one kid just insults him, he will beat up that kid with everything he's got. I mean, we're talking about toddlers here, but that is what a bully is. And it's the same, I would almost say, primal human nature that bully has, is what we see in the ANC. It's all about showing we are the dominant party in this country. And by party, I don't mean political party. I mean dominant in every single way, shape or form. So let's take a look at whether the Human Rights Commission will do anything about what this guy had said. Thanks for joining us, guys. If you want to subscribe to this channel, do so now, and also join our WhatsApp group by sending your name and surname to the number that is on the screen right now. Goodbye, and God bless every one of you.